Howdy y'all, and welcome to Creators Gaming. Today we're going to learn how to make dungeon doors out of cheap dollar store foam and a cupcake box that was destined for the trash. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. I did want to take a second and place the coffee corner at the beginning of the video. I do not have a supporter this week, but you could definitely support me if you'd like and get a shout out next time that we make a video. To start off with, I'm going to break out my cheap dollar store foam that has seen better days, but it's alright, it's going to have another life. And I'm just going to cut it out to size. It's roughly going to be 2 squares or 2 inches wide and by 2 inches tall. That's going to be for the big doors, and then I'm going to cut them in half or even smaller for a 5-foot square by 2 foot. That way my figures can go through our dungeon. Just make sure that you are practicing safety and not getting your fingers anywhere near that sharp blade. About this point, I'm going to go ahead and round off the edges of the larger doors. That way I can get it about the shape that I would like it. And again, with the smaller doors, we're just doing them 1 inch wide. I'm lining it up on the squares on my mat to make it a little easier on myself. About this point, I'm going to use a ballpoint pen. You don't have to really mark on it, just enough to make the indentation. This will come in handy when you go and do the dry brushing later. I'm just drawing the boards and then the wood grain. That way it gives it more pop on the table. And again, we're going to do the same thing that we did with the bigger ones. So we're going to round off the top part, keep the bottom part flat, and then use the pen to draw the boards and the lines again. Trying to work smarter, not harder. And keep in mind, you don't have to be perfect. I wouldn't go hog wild on the lines because it won't really look right if you do. Now, if you do small ones, then it looks more realistic, and it'll be brought out whenever you do the dry brushing. And right about now is the cupcake box that was destined for the trash that we're going to use again. So a little bit of upcycling. Yeah, yes. So I'm going to go ahead and measure it to 1 inch for each one, and then you'll see me here in a minute cut another one in half because it's way too big for the small doors. Hardware on the doors, I am going to use a wyloch trick and use some jewelry pieces. I really like how they look. They look like handles. Some of them look like doorknobs if you put enough glue on there and push them down. But it's a nice touch. Thanks, wyloch. I will also put a link to his channel down in the bio, so make sure to check that out. Now to break out Old Faithful, the glue gun. Hasn't let me down yet. I'm going to put a small bead of hot glue down. You don't want to get too much of it on there because it'll melt the foam. So this is a low temperature that is set on at the moment. Temperature heat gun will definitely melt your foam. And it will be a sad day. Very sad day. I had decided with this door that I wanted to be a little bit different. So I am using some matchsticks that I found at Walmart's crafting aisle. I don't use a whole lot of money on these crafts, so this is a nice little penny pinch save. You can cut them with just a pair of scissors, but you can also just as easily break them with your fingers and get them to the size that you'd like them to be. Also trying to make sure not to hot glue my fingers down as well, which I do get some of those little stringers going all over the place. Hot glue struggle bus. Bright side, that if you have too many stringers, it could just add detail to the door that you're making. It could be more spider webs, or it could just be a really old and crusty door. A little hot glue tip, that if you're running low on your glue stick and you don't have enough to push it through, just glue a little bit on the end of a new piece and then just stick it to the back of the old one. Now for the base coat paint, I'm going with the chocolate brown. I'm going with a darker color, that way whenever I go through and do the dry brushing later, I'll just use a tan or a khaki, and it'll bring out those details that we put in earlier with the pen. And what art project would not be complete without getting at least some of the paint on myself? Keep trying to remind myself that the paint goes on the project and not you, silly. And just making sure to get all the cracks and crevices. That way, whenever you're playing on the game table later, you don't get distracted by seeing a little piece of white or the wood. You go, oh, darn it, I should have gotten that better. But you can't really spray paint this with regular spray paint because, again, spray paint will eat the foam. There are some specialty sprays that you can use, like Army Painter has a good one. But this is a cheap project. I might have 50 cents total in this whole project, so it's super cheap, and I'm trying to keep it that way. So there you go, crafting on a budget. Oh yeah. Now for my favorite part of the whole thing, the dry brushing, so you get to see all those details that you put in really come out. Minimum effort for a big payout, and if you really want it to come out even more, you can also put on a stain or an ink wash if you would like. You don't have to use a whole lot of money on that either. You can water down some paint and then wash it that way. And then there's always the ink method, but that does cost a little bit more. Pretty snazzy. I like how it turned out. It'll look really good on the table later. I'm really pleased on how these doors turned out. Now remember, they don't have to be perfect on the top because they are dungeon doors or creepy castle doors. Well, there you have it, folks. Super easy, cheap doors. Doesn't cost anything. You can knock them around if you want to, and they work great. So if you like the channel, please like, subscribe, support the channel, and I'll see you again. I think I'm going to start doing this every 2 weeks. So I'll see you not this Friday, but next Friday. So see y'all later. Bye.